When the attacker reached for Lina's hijab, a shadow shot forward from the back of the train car, launching a dramatic intervention that reversed the situation. What happened in the next 30 seconds would teach both the aggressor and all the silent passengers an unforgettable lesson, while triggering a chain of events that would open a completely new chapter in Lina's life. Before the story starts, drop a comment. Which city are you watching from? And if you stand for justice and equality, share this story and subscribe to our channel. Together, we can make our voices stronger. The 6th train rumbled through Manhattan's underground tunnels, carrying its diverse passengers through America's most complex city. Inside car number 4, the familiar urban symphony played out. Smartphones clicking, newspapers rustling, conversations in multiple languages. But today, this ordinary commute would become extraordinary. Lina Mansour sat near the middle doors, her navy blue hijab neatly pinned, Columbia University engineering textbook open on her lap. At 22, she navigated 2 worlds with quiet confidence: her Palestinian family's traditional values and the cutting-edge computer science program where she excelled. Her fingers traced algorithms in the margins, mind racing toward her senior AI thesis. The train pulled from 59th Street when she noticed him staring. A middle-aged man in a wrinkled suit, face flushed red, stood swaying near the doors. His eyes locked onto her hijab like a predator studying prey. Lina felt the familiar chill of becoming someone's target rather than just another passenger. Other passengers noticed too. A teenage girl glanced nervously between them. An elderly black woman clutched her purse tighter. A father pulled his daughter closer. The atmosphere shifted from urban indifference to tense anticipation. The man began muttering, words starting as grumbles but becoming clear enough for nearby passengers to hear. Something about terrorists and going back where she came from. Lina kept her eyes on her book, hoping the storm would pass as it usually did. But today was different. Today, the man stepped closer. "Hey you," he said, voice cutting through train noise with sharp hostility. "You hear me talking to you?" Lina looked up, dark eyes meeting his with steady composure. She had been through this before. The confrontations that came with being visibly Muslim in post-9/11 America. Her father taught her to respond with dignity, but her engineering mind calculated the statistics. These encounters were becoming more frequent and dangerous. "I'm just reading," she said quietly, voice carrying the slight accent marking her as first-generation American, daughter of Palestinian refugees who rebuilt their lives in Brooklyn. "Reading what? The Quran? Learning to make bombs." His voice rose, and every passenger watched. Smartphones appeared like digital witnesses, but no one moved to intervene. They watched with detached fascination, horrified but unable to look away. Lina held up her textbook, advanced algorithms and data structures, but the man either couldn't read it or didn't care. His anger fed on itself, growing stronger with each second of unchallenged hate. "Don't lie to me," he snarled, moving closer until she smelled stale alcohol. "I know what you people are about. Coming here, taking our jobs, planning attacks." A businesswoman looked up, frowned with distaste, then deliberately moved to another seat. A construction worker watched briefly, then returned to his newspaper. The teenage girl turned up her music and stared out the window. The silence was deafening. 27 people in that car, and not one voice raised in defense of a young woman being terrorized for existing while Muslim. Lina felt the crushing isolation of being truly alone in a crowded world. "You don't belong here," the man continued, gaining confidence from passengers' silence. "None of you terrorists belong in America. Go back to your desert and leave decent people alone." Lina's hand tightened on her textbook. Inside were solutions that could revolutionize data encryption and protect democracy itself. She was 3 months from graduating summa cum laude, volunteered teaching coding to underprivileged kids, sent half her earnings to rebuild Gaza schools. But to this man, she was just a stereotype in fabric he didn't understand. "I am American," she said steadily. "I was born in Brooklyn. This is my home." "Your home?" He laughed harshly. "Your home is whatever cave you crawled from." Not here, taking space that belongs to real Americans. He stepped closer until she could see burst blood vessels in his eyes, until his spittle landed on her textbook. The train car became a pressure cooker, everyone feeling it build toward inevitable explosion. "Take that thing off your head," he demanded, gesturing at her hijab. "This is America. We don't hide behind terrorist uniforms." That's when he reached for her. His hand extended toward her hijab, fingers spread to grab fabric representing not just faith, but identity. Her connection to her grandmother, who taught her to pray, her link to centuries of women finding strength in devotion. As his hand moved in slow motion, Lina saw her choices: submit and reinforce his belief in her powerlessness, or resist and risk escalation among people who had proven they wouldn't help. But before she could react, before his fingers touched her hijab, a shadow shot forward from the train car's back. The intervention came like lightning, swift, decisive, unexpected. A tall figure moved with fluid grace, stepping between Lina and her attacker with authority that immediately changed the confrontation's entire dynamic. "Step back. Now." The voice was calm but carried steel that made people obey without question. The man's hand froze midair, momentum broken by this new player's sudden appearance. Lina looked up to see her defender, a silver-haired woman in her 40s, wearing a simple black business suit that somehow conveyed more power than all the expensive designer clothes worn by other passengers. Her face was composed, but her eyes held intensity from years of making decisions affecting thousands of lives. "This doesn't concern you, lady," the attacker snarled, but his voice lost confidence. Something about this woman's presence shifted the car's power balance. "Actually, it concerns everyone here," she replied clearly. "Most importantly, it concerns me because I won't watch someone terrorize a young woman for practicing her constitutional right to religious freedom." The attacker looked around, hoping for support from passengers who had silently endorsed his behavior. But the mood changed. The woman's intervention broke bystander paralysis, and suddenly passengers sat straighter, paying attention, becoming human again instead of passive observers. "She's a terrorist," he protested weakly. "Look at her. You can see what she is." "I can see what she is," the woman agreed, voice gaining strength. "She's a student. She's an American. She's someone's daughter. She has every right to be here without harassment from someone who doesn't understand what American values actually mean." She addressed the entire car with boardroom confidence. "Is this who we are? A society where we sit silent while someone terrorizes a young woman for her faith?" Shame filled the car. Passengers studying phones suddenly found courage to look up. The businesswoman returned to her original seat. The construction worker stood, positioning himself as backup. "Ma'am," the elderly black woman spoke with civil rights movement authority, "you're absolutely right. We should all be ashamed." The teenage girl pulled out earbuds. "This is totally messed up. It's 2024. How is this still happening?" One by one, passengers found their voices. Not in anger, but in simple human decency. They formed a support circle around Lina, a solidarity shield transforming the car from hunting ground to sanctuary. The attacker surveyed the transformed crowd, his isolation complete. Alcohol-fueled bravado evaporated as he realized he was now the minority, the outsider with unacceptable behavior. "This is ridiculous," he muttered, fight gone. "I was expressing my opinion." "Your opinion," the silver-haired woman said quietly, "was expressed through attempted assault and religious harassment. That's not free speech. That's a crime." The train pulled into 86th Street, and an NYPD transit officer appeared on the platform. The teenage girl was recording, and Lina realized she had captured everything. "We have everything on video," the girl announced. "Everything. From the beginning." The attacker's face paled as implications hit. His behavior wouldn't disappear into subway anonymity. It would be documented, shared, potentially viral. His employer, family, and neighbors would see it. "Actually," the silver-haired woman said, pulling out her phone, "I think you need to answer questions. Officer Martinez, could you join us?" The transit officer entered, presence commanding attention. The woman approached with confidence of someone accustomed to law enforcement respect. This gentleman attempted to physically assault this young woman because of her religious attire, she explained. We have multiple witnesses and video evidence. Officer Martinez surveyed the scene. A frightened hijab-wearing woman, a nervous middle-aged man, and engaged passengers rather than passive observers. Is that right, miss? He asked Lina gently. Lina nodded steadily despite everything experienced. He threatened me, called me a terrorist, and tried removing my hijab. This woman stopped him. The officer's expression hardened. Hate crimes on public transportation were taken seriously, especially when documented and witnessed by dozens. As paperwork began, the silver-haired woman approached Lina privately. Are you all right? Need medical attention? Someone to call. I'm okay, Lina said, hands still trembling. Thank you. You didn't have to do that. Actually, I did, she replied. Not just as a human being, but as someone who believes in what this country should represent. She studied Lina with intelligent eyes. You handled yourself with remarkable composure. That takes real strength. My father taught me, Lina said simply. He said dignity is something no one can take unless you give it away. The woman smiled, expression softening. Your father sounds wise. What's your name? Lina Mansour. I'm Sarah Chun. She handed Lina an elegant business card. White cardstock with clean typography. I'm CEO of Nexus Technologies. Lina's eyes widened. Nexus Technologies was among the most innovative AI companies, responsible for breakthrough algorithms revolutionizing everything from medical diagnosis to climate modeling. I was reading your textbook, Sarah continued with a slight smile. Advanced Algorithms. Columbia Engineering Program. Yes, ma'am. Graduating in 3 months. What's your specialization? AI and machine learning, focusing on ethical algorithm design. Lina's voice strengthened, discussing her passion. My senior thesis covers bias detection in automated decision-making systems. Sarah's eyebrows rose with genuine interest. Bias detection? That's exactly what we need more of. Would you discuss your research over coffee? We seek brilliant minds understanding that technology isn't neutral, it reflects creator values. The train moved again, carrying them toward destinations. But the journey had already transformed both lives unexpectedly. The attacker was in custody, witnesses provided statements, and video was being shared across social media with hashtags about standing up to hate. I would love that, Lina said, tucking the business card into her textbook next to algorithmic fairness notes. Good. Tomorrow afternoon? I'll have my assistant send details. Sarah paused as the train reached her stop. And Lina? Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong here. This country needs people like you, those combining technical brilliance with moral courage. As Sarah exited, Lina processed everything that happened. Other passengers dispersed, but several stopped to apologize for initial silence, express admiration for her composure, take photos that would be shared with captions about courage and community. The teenage girl approached last. I'm posting this video everywhere. People need to see what hate looks like, but also what standing up looks like. Lina nodded, understanding her story was no longer just her own. It had become part of something larger, a narrative about who Americans are when choosing courage over comfort, action over apathy. As the train carried her toward Columbia University, Lina opened her textbook to review algorithmic bias detection notes. But now those technical concepts carried new weight and purpose. She wasn't just studying how to identify prejudice in machine learning systems. She was understanding how to combat bias in all forms, whether embedded in code or expressed in strangers' cruel words. Tomorrow, she would meet Sarah Chun to discuss how her research could build more equitable AI systems. Next week, she would speak at a community forum about religious tolerance. Next month, she would graduate with honors and begin a career ensuring technology's future reflected inclusion and justice rather than past prejudices. But today, she learned something more valuable than any algorithm. In a world where hate often speaks loudest, one person's courage to stand up can inspire dozens to find their voices, transforming darkness into hope that illuminates society's path forward. The train rumbled through Manhattan tunnels, carrying passengers toward destinations and carrying forward a story reminding everyone that the America worth believing in is where we stand up for each other, especially when it matters most.